All right, welcome to Automate All the Things. Today, I'm going to show you how I automated validating subscribers' emails after they've signed up and not validated their email. So this is actually a problem I was having where users would or subscribers would enter their email for my newsletter on my Webflow website, and then I would send it to Review, which is my newsletter email marketing service. And then that would send a confirmation email to that subscriber, but that user would never subscribe. So what I'm trying to do is once a day, check for everyone who's done that, meaning they've subscribed my newsletter, never validated the email, just want to send a quick reminder. So we're actually going to be using Zapier, Parabola, and Webflow and Review together. So just first, I'm going to start with an overview of how I've set this up, and then talk a little bit about the automation itself. So, just kind of setting this up, I've got my Webflow website, and what I want to do is when a user enters their email here, I send it to Review using Zapier. So this is the Zap right here, which waits for form submissions in Webflow, sends it to Review, but I've also got this create record in Airtable. So in Airtable, we've got kind of two columns. I've got the email, a review checkbox, and then send reminder. So this is a super simple kind of table that if the review column or field is checked, that means that subscriber has validated their email. And what I want to do is I want to wait once a day, check everyone who's signed up where review is empty. That means that they haven't validated their email. And then I want to check the box, send reminder, and send them a reminder email. So relatively easy in theory, a little more complex in practice. So, the automations that we need here is first the one I mentioned right here. So there are kind of three steps here. The first is that when someone does validate their email, we need to check this review box. And then once a day, we need to go through our Airtable, find every single email that hasn't validated their email, and then check this send reminder box. And that should fire an email. So the first kind of step we're going to do with Zapier. So when someone subscribes, we're going to go into Airtable, update this field. We're going to check for records that haven't validated their email in Parabola once a day. And then we're going to monitor the update of the checkbox and send reminder in Zapier, and then send the email from Zapier as well. So that's kind of the high level of what we're going to do. So those are the three automations. So let's jump into Zapier first and talk a little bit about how we monitor for new subscribers. So let's go into Zapier, and I have the Zap, which is update subscriber status. I've actually named it properly, which is quite rare. So this monitors for new subscribers in Review. And when that trigger is triggered, is that user or that subscriber has validated their email. So I have this, my email test 2. And what I do is I go find that subscriber in Airtable. So I'll go find that record. So I find the email address in a search step, and then I update the record that I just found with review equals 1. And 1 means that it's true and that it's going to check the review box. So that's how we monitor for subscribers that have validated their email. So what this means is that if you come in here and this isn't checked, that means I know that you haven't yet validated your email. And if it's checked, that means you have validated your email, and that's done with this Zap right here. So that's, step 1 of our 3 automations to get this done. When I started this, I wasn't really realizing how complex it was in practice to do this, but we got it done. So next, we want to go to Parabola. Parabola is a service that kind of works with tables. So it's actually going to import our whole Airtable. It's going to identify records or subscribers that haven't validated their email, meaning they don't have the check. And then it's gonna update their status. So update this record right here to send a reminder. So let's go ahead and do this step by step. So first, we're gonna import our table. So this imports the whole table, which is not what we want. So we want to filter it down to the records where the example is true. That's just for me, so you're not seeing a bunch of sensitive information. And then the review filter is empty. Now, one other rule I'm actually going to send, and this is not necessary, but I do want to put it in just in case. I want to remove records that have send reminder equal true. So that means we've already sent that reminder. So I'm going to add the requirement that the send reminder field right here is empty. So that like that. So we should only be left with this last test. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do an API export. So it's an API call to Airtable to update this record. Now, if I had multiple subscribers who hadn't validated the email, Parabola would run this API export for each one of them. So what it does is a patch call. So just going to quickly go into the documentation. Oops. Just to kind of explain what's going on here. So we want to go into the subs table and we're going to update a record. That's a patch call. And literally all you have to do is copy paste this information right here, right there, and then replace the record. We're going to do, for one example, this record right here with the ID. So this is going to run this API call for each record that you have, and it's going to substitute the ID of the record right here. And that's going to let Airtable know which record you want to update. And then the fields what we want to do is update send reminder equal true. So what this is going to do is that it's going to go through each record, filter down to the ones that don't have review checked, meaning they haven't validated the email. It's going to do an API call to check this send reminder. And then the automation that we're going to do is have Zapier monitor that column and then send emails every time we check that column. So simple. Let's run this. So not sure what changes, but yes, I'll discard them. Let's publish this. Let's run it. And if all went well, we go back to Airtable. We have send reminder on test 5 and 9, which, well, 9 is now checked. So that is what we wanted. So now we need to send a reminder to this new subscriber that hadn't validated their email. So let's kind of keep going here. Parabola to check for no validation. And then finally, our last zap here is to send an email reminder. So what this does is that it waits for new records in a view. This is actually a new, relatively new trigger. So I have a view that is send email, and it filters on where it's an example, so no sensitive data, but where send reminder is checked. So every time there's a new record in this view, meaning we ran the Parabola flow and updated the field to send reminder equals yes. That means we want to send a reminder. It's going to go ahead and trigger this zap that does, all it does is wait for that and sends an email. So it goes and gets the email of the user. Let's kind of go ahead and find that data. So this is, the email we just updated, and it's going to go ahead and send an email to that user just saying, hey, did you forget to validate your email? Sends them a little bit information of how to find that email or to, subscribe again. So if we run this, so I'm just going to go run this again. And if I go into my email in a second, I should have that validation email. Here we go. So you can see Acorn test 9. It says, hey, did you forget to validate your email? Now note that this comes from Zapier Mail, and there's a limit of 10 emails per hour. So if you have this massive subscriber list, probably not the best flow to make it happen. You can just send it to an email marketing service like SendGrid to make it happen. So that is a relatively complex way to do something that should be relatively simple, which is revalidate or send reminder emails to subscribers to validate their email. So hopefully this was useful if you're new to Parabola or new to Zapier. It's one of the first times I've been working with both of them together. It's quite a good, interesting mix. So let me know if this is useful to you. Yeah, see you around. Cheers. Bye.